Yeah.
It works now.
Push it all the way in.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
There you go.
Hey, awesome. Chris, Kwon, welcome to the Just Tea podcast, man. We're happy to have you on.
I look at that one.
No, you just look at us.
Oh.
Yeah, you can look at us or that one.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And whenever you want to say a really good message, you can look straight in the camera, my guy.
We're just having a conversation. That's it.
So it's just a conversation.
Okay.
So welcome.
I can't do this with her doing that though. Please stop doing that.
You're good.
Okay.
All right, Jed, you want to start us off?
All right, Chris, thank you for coming. You're our very first person. And it's not because no one said yes. We didn't ask anyone but you, honestly.
You're testing this stuff on me. It's cool. Don't worry.
Well,
It's a midway failure. It's okay. You'd rather do it on me than anyone else.
than
All right,
anyone
go
else.
ahead.
All right. Well, we wanted to start off with, just tell us something about yourself.
Well, that's such an open-ended question.
It
I'm
is open-ended.
yes.
Okay, let's start off
how-
with your background.
Where'd you grow up at? Are you from Houston?
I'm from Houston. Grew up in Pearland, Texas. Never really left Pearland. And to me, outside of Pearland, even Sugarland was like another world. So I stayed in Pearland. My parents were business owners. They started from businesses of clothing business.
Okay.
They had actually clothing businesses all over Houston. They had like 12 locations at one point. And then the late 90s recession really hurt their business, and they had to close everything and start all over essentially. And then they went into gas station convenience store business.
Okay.
And did that for about 12 years or so, 13 years or so. And then eventually started buying real estate and owned a bunch of real estate, and now like they just retired, and so that's kind of expanded from there, and that's that.
So I guess my question is, did you always know you wanted to be a business owner growing up in that?
So my dad, sometimes growing up with him, he was a little weird to me because my friends, growing up in Pearland High School, predominantly white high school, their parents were usually working the 9 to 5, had the 401ks, doing
The safe life.
the safety route.
The safety route.
Having PTO, going on vacations and stuff like that. And when my friends talk, like another thing too, health insurance, like I didn't know things like that. My friends would talk about these things, and my mom and dad didn't have any of that stuff. Jeez. And so it was a little strange. And I kind of wondered to myself why my parents didn't do that kind of lifestyle. Yeah. But my dad growing up always would tell me, he would say, I don't care what it is you do in life. You can do whatever. I don't care. You just have to own your own business. He always he always would say, own your own business. And then what he talked about was, he said, the reason why I'm telling you this, because I've had friends who they work in a company, they work there, and after so much time you're there, eventually you aren't as productive as someone who's younger, and more importantly, you're not going to be nearly as cheap as someone who's younger and very hungry and very active. And then they're in this situation now where, they have to figure out either how to work through the system to keep a job or start the business. And then by that point, they've now lost 15 years, 20 years working in a thing, and it's better off. They should have just started their business early on, so then they don't lose that 15, 20 years of time. So he always told me, whatever you do, I don't care what it is you do, but own your own business. That's what he made it clear.
I mean, that's very true. Like one of our friends or somebody that we know was talking about how they're training someone. They're like, dude, I'm pretty sure I'm training. It was one of our patients. I'm pretty sure I'm training my replacement.
So typically, and I don't know how true this is, but I hear this a lot, that, a lot of people who work in the oil and gas or really big corporate companies, that they work there so long, and, obviously their salary grows over the years. And, I feel like at one point they're going to have to get replaced by the newer generation of themselves, essentially, just so that the company can save money. And it's almost kind of scary because you're like, man, I'm training this guy to do exactly my job. You know what I mean? And there's a certain kind of fear in that itself, right?
Well, especially whenever like you're older, but you're not at retirement age yet.
Sure.
You know, like who's going to hire you if you're like 50 something,
right.
you know, closer to retirement? It's kind of scary.
It comes down to skills.
Right.
Because a lot of these people, if you're doing a job that's not super skillful, that can be taught and replaceable, then at some point in time, you're not going to be able to have the energy to keep up with somebody who is younger. That's just life. We all get older. That's just how it goes.
That's true. Yeah.
And so if your skills that you do are something that can be easily replaced by somebody younger, hungrier, and cheaper, it's just a matter of time. And so that's why I always say, don't worry so much about working hard. Worry about learning skills that are hard to replace. If you've got skills that are hard to replace in the business world, in the working world, it doesn't matter what happens over time. And so that's why you see those, who, they may start from the bottom, but eventually in a company, they need to start managing people. Managing people is a type of skill, and that goes to it. And you've got to learn these things. And some of those who are like, no, I just want to keep working what I do and that's it. They're being short-sighted and not realizing like, no, you have to keep learning new skills or you will get replaced by somebody younger, hungrier, more energy. And
it's kind of scary though, right?
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
Versus, being your own owner or being your own, entrepreneur, you're in control of your fate.
Not always though. Yeah. Being your own boss is kind of scary too. I think you just got to pick your struggles, right? Essentially.
That is true.
It's really about picking what's hard. You got to pick your hearts.
Yeah.
Because yes, working in a company and for a long time and trying to make sure that you stay relevant to where you all are always in demand is hard. But also running a business and making sure that you stay relevant in the business, that's hard too. You just got to pick your heart, essentially.
Exactly. But so did you always know you wanted to be a businessman, or was it more of something that because I know your dad was pushing you towards it, but I don't think your brother has his own business, right? I think
no, he doesn't. I mean, it's the business. For my firm, when I started it, was kind of a screw it. Let's see what happens. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a wife. The one thing I was very blessed with was that I had parents who were very understanding. In fact, encouraging, in that they were like, look, we're not going to give you any money to start your business, but we'll put a roof over your head. And so,
man, that's all you can ask for.
That's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah.
But, and the thing is this is where I say, I think it's a little, I didn't understand. My dad was a little weird, but now older, I realize there's a lot of wisdom in what he's saying. And if I had parents who worked the regular 9 to 5 in a big company, and I said, hey, I want to start my own law firm, I don't think they would have understood it. They would have been like, what are you talking about? You need to go work at a firm and start an associate and go from there. That's how most people are. And in fact, I have a lot of friends whose parents live that 9 to 5 life. And I tell them I'm starting my own firm. And what they hear is not, I'm starting my own business. They hear, I can't find a job.
Yeah.
That's what they hear. And I mean, it's fine. I can understand. And I want to make it clear that I never looked for a job when I decided to start a firm. I never went on Indeed to start looking at stuff. I still, sometimes here and there, I'll just look.
At the time that you graduated, was it very saturated? Were there a lot of lawyers out there?
It was. So the hard thing about when I graduated from law school was there was the 2008 subprime mortgage crash. Okay. And I graduated law school in 2011. Okay. So that subprime mortgage crash was really hitting through the markets. And let me put it like this. It was the big law firms at the time, probably the year and 2 years before I graduated, they would be hiring maybe 10 associates. And this is from all over the law schools. I'm talking the UTs, the UHs, all of them, right? And but what happened was a lot of the business really died a lot. And so when you don't have as much business, you don't need as much law firms doing the transactions for the business, right? So if you don't have as much of the business or the need for the law firms to do the transactions, they don't need to hire as many associates to do the work. And so what happened is these law firms that traditionally, like the big law firms that are hiring 10 associates a year, they hired like 2 for the year. A huge drop because they just didn't need it. And so and when I was in law school, it was actually, and I don't know so much now but when I was in law school, going to law school was like the thing. Like everyone's like, I want to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer.
What made you decide to be a lawyer? I think that's the number one question I always wanted to ask.
What were your choices? Like,
so as much as, I mean, I'm an Asian, I'm Korean. Like people think like, oh, your parents must have told you doctor, lawyer. No, none of that. The only thing my dad required was own your own business. He did not say you need to go be a doctor. He did not say you need to be a lawyer. He did not say, now schooling wise, my parents were very demanding in that I better have good grades. Like I grew up in an environment where, I have friends who made all A's and they get money for it. And I go to my parents, I made all A's. I'm like, hey, so-and-so got all A's and they got money for it. They're like, and? What do you?
This is what you're expected to do.
Are you expecting money too? And I was like, I mean, maybe. And they're like,
no,
that's what you're supposed to do. What are you talking about? And I was like, okay, so I guess that's out the question. But so they're demanding about my grades, but they never said you needed to be a lawyer. I don't know. I something early in me, young, I always knew I wanted to do some kind of professional career. I don't know. I think this was back in like middle school, frankly. And I just had this self-awareness that out of all the professional careers I could think of, lawyers seemed like it fit me the best. And so I was like, I just focused and I'll tell you, I told my friends, I told my family, like even from freshman year of high school, I said, I want to go to law school. And so that's what I've always focused on. That's it. I don't know why. It just something in me. Being a doctor didn't sound that appealing. Engineering didn't sound appealing. Accounting didn't sound. No, it's just
There's no lawyers in the family.
None.
You didn't shadow any lawyers.
Nope.
Man, so you're like, this is what I'm gonna do.
This is just what I'm gonna do. I don't know if maybe it was TV. I don't know, but just something that said I want to be a lawyer. The best experience I got before going to college was my ex's uncle was a lawyer. And I worked there a summer as a college or high school student, like a little bit. But that was it. There was nothing else.
What kind of law did he practice?
He was a Korean lawyer, so he was kind of general practice, a lot of immigration, but he did a lot of things. Yeah.
And then what law did you practice before you had your practice?
My law firm does personal injury plaintiffs work, and this is all I've ever done. I've never done anything.
Really? Yeah. So you didn't do any other part of law?
No, okay. This is the only thing I've done. Yeah. Frankly, when I was in law school, I didn't think I would do this kind of work at all. In fact, if anything, I kind of judged this kind of work. I thought I'd be doing if you were to put a gun to my head when I was in the second year of law school or first year of law school, I thought I'd probably be doing the opposite of the work that I'm doing today.
What did you think you were doing when you were in law school?
What did I want to do? What did I think I was going to do?
What did you think you were doing as a law student? Like, what did you think you were going to practice?
Oh, I mean, ideally I'd love to have been is like, it sounds cliche, but like, working in the ivory tower of like this 75-foot building in Houston, Texas, and I got a corner penthouse apartment with being able to do big old windows and walk to work and all driving my fancy sports car and all that. That's kind of
free food Friday at the work, and then they have a gym over there.
Yeah. That's what I thought, and probably if anything, I thought I was gonna be like doing like transactions and maybe tax work, things like that. Because business, I've generally have a business background, so I thought like, business, M&A, all that stuff sounded interesting to me at the time. So.
But what made you shift to personal injury?
Because I couldn't find a job. That's really what it was. Like something you talked about was how saturated it was. So, those big laws, we still had the most. Everybody was wanting to go to law school at that time, but they weren't hiring. Yeah. So we had a big influx of people graduating from law school and not enough jobs, and so. all these lawyers who normally would have gotten those big law jobs, they got funneled down to mid-sized firms, and then mid-sized to small size, and it was really tough looking for a job. I literally applied to jobs on Craigslist. Like I literally found jobs on Craigslist. They're lawyer jobs, and I applied and I interviewed, and I didn't even get those jobs. That's how scary, man. That's how tough it was, and it's
then
not like
student loan repayments coming up,
and I'm not
that grace period.
And the thing is like, I mean, I'm not trying to bash it, okay, because I don't want that reputation going on, because I actually know a lot of very good lawyers, but I didn't graduate from like a Texas Southern, who's actually one of like the lower ranked schools out there, right? I graduated from Baylor Law School, which is a tier 1 school. I mean, top at that time, 40, 50 law school in the nation. And when I applied into law school, I think we had 100% employment rate within 6 months of graduating. So I thought, it should be fine. And I wasn't a bad student at Baylor. I was an okay student. I could have done better. I could have done worse too. So I thought it wouldn't be too bad. But like whenever I applied to that job on Craigslist and interviewed, I didn't even get that job. I was like, I really thought I made a horrible decision to go to law school and be a lawyer. Really straight up. I really thought, I was like, Baylor law particularly, looking back on it, I know I was dogging on TSU, but we're talking about cost wise, and frankly, some of the richest lawyers I know are from TSU. So I think about this. I'm like, man, if we're going to compare cost between TSU and Baylor, I probably would have taken TSU's cost all day, because Baylor's not cheap. And and so I had all that student loan debt, and I didn't have a job. Couldn't find a job. Couldn't get a job on Craigslist. And at the time, I was working because I have a friend of mine whose uncle was the city of cousin. I'm sorry, city of Pearland, and he let me work there. But I worked for free. I was just to get experience. I just wanted to get experience. And at this point, I was a licensed attorney, and some people were asking like, "Why are you working here? You're a licensed attorney. Shouldn't you go get a job?" I'm like, thank you for pointing that out. I'm just
make me hate myself more.
I appreciate that. Grinding and learning. So, but no, really, I really thought I made a horrible decision being a lawyer and going to law school. So by that point, I was like, shoot, I just have to find something. And that's when I found a job at a personal injury law firm. And that's the rest is history from there. Yeah.
So you worked one job before you opened up shop.
Correct.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy or stupid. One of the probably more stupid than crazy. But yeah, I worked a year at a firm, and I'm grateful for working there, because this gives me the foundation, the baseline of what to learn. And the reason why I started the firm, because I'm sitting there thinking like, I think I know enough of a baseline, and I can kind of understand the law and the business behind it. I think that I could start from here. It's a baseline. It's not obviously the end all be all, but it's a baseline, and that's where I went. I just rolled with it.
Yeah. So when you started up, did you work out of your bedroom?
Yes.
You did.
I was in my parents' house.
Yeah.
In my
That's
bedroom.
what I was wondering, because obviously you're broke. You worked a year.
I don't have an office. I was actually in more debt. Frankly, from when I started that job to where I ended, I was actually in more debt. Because I didn't get paid much money. I got paid less money for that job than most college grads at the time. And when I tell people how much I got paid, they're like, "Wow, that's it." I think. Yeah, it was low. But
do you want to say the number, or?
No, it's okay. And the reason why is because I want to protect the firm that I was at, but it was low. Let me just put it as it was lower than most college graduates at the time. My brother, who graduated from college, didn't go to law school, didn't go to any graduate school, made more money his first job out of college than I did my first job out of law school as a licensed attorney.
I mean, I was a teacher, and I made more money than him at his first job as a chiropractor. So it's just whatever. So I wanted to talk to you because, you weren't at book club because you were busy. But the last book that we read, Outwitting the Devil, they were talking about his other self. Do you remember that chapter where he was talking about how his other self was telling him to go to, I think, Philadelphia, and he was asking his I think his brother-in-law for $50, and then he went to the hotel and just
I vaguely remember
all of this. But do you remember talking about the other self? He repeated that a lot.
I remember the big thing he was talking about is like all of us, we have like this thing in us that makes us want to kind of veer off course and forget and start. I guess the word is drifting, but really just
like a drifter,
like losing focus.
No, but I'm not talking about that one.
Okay.
There was another one where it's supposed to, because it was in the first chapter. I only read one chapter.
Okay.
With Andrew Carnegie, whenever he interviewed him, he was like, "Oh, there's another self that like basically like once you tap into that, like basically it's like to guide you and you just listen to that person to be where you're supposed to be."
I think I vaguely remember that. Yes.
So I guess like for me and Jesse, when you were saying, "Oh yeah, it was either like brave or stupid," when we started our practice, like. I look back and I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck were we doing? Because like a lot of the things that we did, like, I don't think if we were in, I don't want to say sane, because like obviously we were sane, but like, you know, starting a business with like me being pregnant and like not having a lot of money and stuff like that.
No income coming in.
I felt like, looking back at it, like from like an outside looking in, I would be like, if one of my friends did that, I'd be like, dude, that's not safe.
It's stupid.
It's irresponsible.
It's irresponsible.
It's absolutely stupid.
But I mean, it worked out. Like, you feel like looking, like when you were in it, obviously you feel like you just need to succeed. Like you wouldn't let yourself fail. But looking back, do you feel like you would do it again? Or like if one of your friends told you they're going to do that, would you? What would you say?
Oh my gosh. This is a complicated question. So, as y'all know, continuing to run a business is really difficult, and and anyone who tells you that owning a business is all rainbows and gardens and flowers is sunshine is completely naive. A lot of the reason why I still continue having my own firm and pushing is because it was pretty difficult getting to this place, and I've been at this since 2013, and I look back and all the struggles and all the things that went wrong, and I'm like, would I put myself through that again? Like, let's say if I decided I'm closing the door and I'm going to go get a job, you know, maybe what if I hate the job? What if I hate doing that? What if I realized I made a horrible decision and owning a firm is the better thing for me? Well, now I've closed the thing. I have to redo all that again. My dad would always talk about momentum in business is a huge thing.
Oh, I believe in that.
And
momentum for sure.
And he would talk like something he would freak out about. Like one time we had a hurricane that hit through the business and it like messed up a bunch of stuff. But like he was adamant about opening like the business like right away. Like he did not want like he didn't
skip a beat.
He didn't want to skip a beat. Like I'm talking the roof is torn off the thing and he still wanted to open the business and have it run, and we can fix the stuff while the business is running. Because he kept saying, "These are how businesses die." And he's like, "I know we have to get back opening. We'll fix it as we go, but we got to get going." Because he kept talking about momentum. This
is crazy. That's true grit right there.
Yeah, he's like, you can't lose momentum. And so I think to myself, like, if I decide to close the business, that's a huge decision that could. Something that I can't go back and show, or I could, but it's going to be way harder to go back and change that decision. Whereas finding a job is always going to be there. It'll always be there, no matter what happens. And so, that's kind of why I keep pushing now. And to answer your question of whether if I do it again, I don't know. Frankly, it was
a hard question.
It's a hard question because. Shoot, I mean, to me back then, $10,000 may as well have been $1 million, and now I look at my payroll, I'm like,
oh yeah,
okay,
same. Every time I do payroll,
and that payroll ain't to me. Let me tell you right now,
absolutely, same.
I still let me tell you about my first job. My first job, I didn't even have PTO. I still don't even know the concept of PTO. At all. So
most Americans don't. Most Americans don't even use their PTO.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You know, it's the grind life that we live. Like people praise that, the grinding and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, do you remember your first case you ever got and how did you get it?
Oh man, that's a good one.
One of my first clients was my parents.
Oh,
it was interesting.
Aside from your parents, but go ahead and tell your story.
Was there a little excitement there? Like, oh shit, I can't fuck up. These are my parents right here. I gotta give them the policy limits right here.
It was just I just knew what I was doing, so I wasn't too concerned. I mean, the facts of the case were pretty clear, and I didn't think I was being crazy. And it was nice getting to the number that I thought we should, and it was literally a phone call from defense counsel being like, yeah, we decided we'll pay the money that we did. And,
nice.
It was kind of, that was surprising. I can't remember the very first one. I really can't, but I do remember. I can tell you one thing. One client I specifically remember the way I got it. The reason why this sticks out is just because the way I got it. Because again, my parents are business owners. One of them, I represented a guy who got ran over by his bike, and he was in a car. He was homeless though. But the reason why I got him is because he was a customer of my dad's store.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
man.
crazy.
It's kind of sad. He's kind of sad though. He was an alcoholic and homeless. And
that's
rough. But I got him money. He probably blew it all doing homeless things. But
you did your service.
I did my service.
You did your service. That's great, dude.
Yeah. So I remember those days. I mean, you getting clients that's never really been a huge problem. I mean, I guess the difference is that I don't.
Like, did you feel an excitement though? You didn't feel an excitement like, oh
no.
man.
Whenever I get in a client, I mean, unless if it's like a really good case, but even then, every time I get a new client, I don't necessarily get excitement. I get like, okay, we got to get to work. I've always been like, we got to get to work.
Not even your first few clients?
The excitement because doing what I do, I don't count my chickens before I hatch.
Okay, I see.
Okay. I get that.
Because it's on a lean, essentially.
Oh, well, you don't know. You don't know how it's going to end. You don't know how long it's going to end. You don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
You don't, and there's so many things that can go wrong into that point.
No,
and
you're right.
So when a client, even to these days, we sign a client, I'm like, okay, cool, they picked us, but then I'm like, all right, got to get to work. I don't really celebrate that. That's not the celebration. My celebrations are when we get a good result on a case.
So that brings you excitement.
That's what brings the excitement, because then now I've the big hurdle of what I've done. That's what excites me. That's what they hired us to do. They didn't hire us to sign them as a client. They hired us to get them good results.
Right.
That's the key. So that's what really excites me. Now, I guess there was some excitement at like, oh, at least somebody wants to hire me. I guess I'll say that. That's always
that comes
there.
along with it being momentum.
Sure.
Like, oh man, let's grow this business.
Sure.
We're getting clients. They're coming in.
And obviously, if you do a good job at the end, everybody gets an accident, right? And then it's multiples. So like, you're hoping that it's like word of mouth,
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I hired Kwon Law, so like, you should go there. They did a really good job and stuff like that, So I think that's
one of the best compliments.
I think that's where our excitement is whenever we get new patients and stuff like that. Because like obviously, some of them are dropped and all of that stuff, but we do get excited because it's like, hey, at least they chose us, like So obviously, you got to do a good job, like, but they're giving you that opportunity to do it,
Sure. Yeah. It's the clients and the referrals are always humbling. But it can be overwhelming because it's like that means we got to continue to do a good job, and doing the law side of this stuff. There's just so many landmines that you can hit. I mean, just recently I wrote a big check to a client on a case that we didn't really. I mean, what we screwed up on is we made a bad assumption about a judge, but the problem is we should have been prepared for that, and so it's tough because something I do feel like that is hard is that I always have to be on my A game, and I always have to try to be on my A game, because if I'm not on my A game, I can hurt a client, and I can hurt a client's case, and that can get exhausting, frankly. It really can.
Yeah.
And so I guess, and maybe I'm a little too hard on myself in that way, but that's the way that we get the results and we get the clients, because if we're not on our A game, then, I mean, frankly, if I was a terrible lawyer, I would not want a client to hire me. I wouldn't. frankly, like if my firm and my skills we don't have the skills to get the job done, don't hire us. I'll tell that to anybody. If you truly believe that, that's how it is. If there's another lawyer who's better skilled, better results in doing that, I would say go to that lawyer, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's a big reason why, frankly, I even stay in Houston, because Houston has some of the top lawyers in the nation. And so because of that, I purposely stay in Houston because I want to compete with the best of them, and that's how you get better, right?
And now this certain category, I guess you would say they're trial lawyers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Did you always know you want to be a trial lawyer?
Well, no, that's 100%. No, like I said, I fell into this and the trial law stuff. Like, really, the big reason why I continue doing this specific kind of work is because I love helping people. I really love it. The trial law stuff, going to trials and stuff, dude, that stuff can be so stressful. I don't know. I'm not that lawyer.
It takes a certain kind of person to do that stuff. Right?
I have friends of mine who are like, man, I love trials. I love being in trials.
Like,
I love
turns them on.
I'm like,
no, we do know some lawyers that are like that though. They love that.
Lawyers are
it's like they love that. I'm like, anytime a lawyer tells me that, I'm like, man, you're weird.
They like to suit up. They're like, I'm ready to fucking conquer this courtroom.
No, there are some people that are like that.
They love that. Yeah, I don't love trials. I love advocating for my clients. I love trying to fight for my clients, and I love trying to get good results for my clients. But that doesn't mean trials can be stressful, and trials, if you've got equally competent or maybe even smarter lawyers on the other side who are fighting you in the other way, and you've got to be able to know the rules of civil procedure and rules of evidence good enough to be able to talk about it in an intelligent way, but also then being able to communicate it to regular everyday people, because those are the jurors that determine the results of your case. So trying to communicate complex legal ideas to
layman people,
it's challenging. But again, the real reason why I do it is because I love helping people. It's my,
because not all lawyers go to trial, right?
No. No. I mean, there's lawyers. There's doing what I do. There's lawyers that are pre-lit lawyers who just like signing cases and sending them off. Yeah. Then you got lawyers who will litigate stuff, and they're called litigators and do that, but they'll never want to step in a courtroom. I mean, they won't.
Stressful. Yeah.
It's stressful. I mean, even doing
it takes
hearings,
a lot out of you.
I was doing today. I had to do a default judgment. I've never really done one, and just trying to get through it, And if you are not good on your feet, if you're not quick on your feet, and you're not willing, I guess the hardest thing about trials is you hope everything goes exactly as planned, but most of the time it doesn't, and you've got to be able to be quick on your feet and adjust. And it could be as simple as like, oh, this tech that you're using isn't working like you expected, so now you've got to pivot from that, or this witness is late, or this judge made a ruling on this piece of evidence that you weren't expecting to go that way, and then you got to pivot. That's where
it's like that game Exploding Kittens. I don't know if you ever played that game.
I've never played that game.
We should play on game night. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But that's the challenging thing about trials, and the best trial lawyers I know the rules and the evidence so well, and they're so calm and collected, and even in those situations where something doesn't go exactly right, that they pivot really well, and it looks like you would have never known that something unexpected happened to him. And unfortunately, doing what we do in front of juries, like the way that you present yourself and the how prepared you look and how calm you look and all that exudes credibility to a jury. And the one that exudes the most credibility to the jury tends to win the case in trials. So it's important that us trial lawyers are able to be on top of everything well enough that we exude credibility to a jury to win that case for our client, even if the facts and everything are in our favor, right? You can lose a case in trial as a lawyer if you don't exude the credibility to the jury, and That's what's hard.
That's scary too.
That's scary because
really scary,
because you may have the facts, you may have the law, you may have all this stuff, but you could lose to a lawyer on the other side just because they have gained the credibility with the jury because they just are able to exude it well enough. And frankly, that's those lawyers who are able to gain the credibility from a jury very well in all situations. Those are the ones that are the most successful trial lawyers. And those are the ones, frankly, that they're working the big cases. Yeah, they get the best results. They're probably living that life that people kind of see on TV. Those are those lawyers. Yeah, I'm not that lawyer. I'm okay. I don't know if I'm to the point of exuding that kind of credibility to where I can just walk into a courtroom and a jury's like, oh my God, I'll listen to everything Mr. Kwon says.
That's Chris Kwon.
That's Chris Kwon right there. Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever have a mentor, or was it just something that you just learned?
I've definitely got many mentors still to this day, and I've got many of mentors in different aspects. But the mentors are who I have acquired in the beginning, throughout time. In the beginning, no, I didn't have any mentors. I was by myself. That's the hardest thing about
that is scary.
Learning and navigating
having
yourself.
A business. Yeah. I mean, y'all are lucky. I mean, I in that I was alone. I wasn't married, so there was no
help.
Not being married made it to where there was no stress of like hurting somebody.
Right.
But it also made it by yourself.
Yeah.
Single.
It gets lonely.
It gets lonely. Whereas at least y'all went into business together. So you struggled together.
We leaned on each other a lot for sure.
I mean, there would be times where I'm just I remember sitting in my bedroom and just being like, God, this sucks. This is not fun. Like I really don't like what's going on, and I've got nobody.
Still do that.
I don't. But the problem is, like, great for y'all is y'all get to talk about it with each other. I have nobody to talk about it with.
That's tough. That's tough.
I could talk to my parents about it, but they're not
there with you.
They're not there with you.
Yeah.
You could talk to your friends about it, and they don't really truly understand. Like, when it's just you and you're licking your own stamps, you're licking your own envelopes, and you answer your own phones, and something goes wrong. It's just like I almost
you had so many hats.
I feel that right now for
A to Z,
I mean, sometimes it was almost like I was like, man, I'm almost a lunatic enough to have a conversation with myself, like in two different hats.
You would kind of have to, honestly. Like, I feel like when we started our business, like we had two friends that started around the same time we did, and they would. I was heavily pregnant, but at least he could focus on being a chiropractor, and then that way I take all the responsibility of everything else off his plate, and then we marketed together and everything like that. And his friends would be like, man, I wish I had a Jen, and I would, have somebody that can help me, because it's hard. They can't do everything on their own. And the thing is, technically I'm free labor. We weren't paying ourselves. So technically, if you were to hire another person, that's more cost on you.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when you were able to hire your first employee?
Oh yeah, it was great. I was like, how
many months or years in?
It was years.
What year was it?
I think it was 3 years in. It was 3 years in, and I got to a point where I was so busy that I was like, oh my God, okay, I can't be answering the phone and sending these letters, going to the post office and all that, while also doing the legal work. I've got to hire somebody to at least take care of that, where they can just send letters off, answer the phone, lick stamps, lick envelopes. It's very basic stuff, but the
administrative work.
That
way you can focus on your clients.
Doing law stuff, and then doing business owner stuff. The hard thing about doing this specific type of business is that you have to me, being a lawyer is not easy work. Like doing depositions, doing trials, doing motions, it's not easy. It takes a whole job to do that.
Oh,
it really
absolutely.
It takes a whole job on its own to do that. But then you also have the business owner side of it, right?
Taxes.
You have taxes,
payroll,
you have insurance, payroll, overhead, rent,
maintenance, taking out the trash,
all this stuff. You got all those things.
Costco runs.
Correct. All those things,
toilet paper.
And then business development, marketing, meeting others to talk about your business. It's all that stuff.
Selling
so it's
yourself.
That's 2 different jobs,
Absolutely.
And it's tough. It's really tough. Trying to do both hats and not lose your sanity, frankly, it's tough.
No, I get it. Cause like, even whenever he's just the Cairo and I'm doing all the business stuff, like we lose our sanity, so I can't imagine one person having to do all of that, cause it's a lot. But so walk us back to that. So 3 years in, you hired your first person. Were you still working at your parents' house or?
So by that point I decided, okay, I'm going to get an office, because I got to put somebody in there. Okay. And it actually got to a point where I was busy enough that I first got an office just for myself, that I was like, okay. Maybe.
Where was it?
It was in Pearland.
Okay.
And it was near the Kellys. And my mom drove by it because she saw a sign that said office rent for $450 a month. And so my mom was like, that sounds cheap. You want to go check it out? I was like, okay. And I went in there, and the real reason why I got an office because I needed a conference room to do depots. And I was like, I'm not doing depots in my parents'
living room.
That's not happening. So I was like, okay, I should probably get an office, and found it. And, they showed me the $450 office, and I don't think it was an office. I think it was a closet, because when we opened the door to it, there's no windows.
Oh my god!
And
like a master closet.
And then there's all this stuff in the like chairs and all this stuff in there. And so I was looking around. I was like, yeah, this is an office, but I was like, I can work with this. This is fine. It was big enough to put a desk and all. I was like, I can work with this. But then they had a separate conference room that we could use that was already set up, and I was like. Yeah, I can roll with this. We can do that. So I started there, paid $450 a month. And
for how long?
I had that thing for. That office we used that office. We expanded more into that office.
Oh, okay.
Until I moved to where y'all's thing is in.
Okay.
So that was in 2020, because we moved at the peak of COVID. So that was 2020. So I had that office from like 2015, 2016 till 2020.
So 5 or 6 years.
Five or 6 years. And we kept expanding, but yeah, eventually.
So you just like paid each room as you're expanding?
So there was like one closet, right? Which is the office that I was in. But then eventually there's all these other open spaces. And I was asking the landlord, like, hey, I'm going to hire somebody. Can I rent this spot? He's like, okay, sure. And then I did that, and then rented another part. And then, there was like 4 of the, at that point it was just 3 of us. I think 3 or 4. No, I was thinking it's 3 of us. And then that's when we moved to where we are now and where y'all rent from. And then that's when we took the whole office and all that. So.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's
quite a journey, man.
Yeah,
it's quite a journey for sure.
Man,
it was. I still don't know how it happened, and I don't know, but someday, maybe. Talk to me a year from now, 2 years from now. We'll see if the business is still going. But
I'm sure it will. You do good work. Yeah. You do good work. I can vouch for that because we do work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, y'all. How fast are y'all going? Y'all got 2 different locations. I'm still.
We got lucky, man. We got lucky. Dude, but like, our mindset, like, man, when we opened up again, we had no money coming in. We were like, shit. How are we gonna get clients? How are we gonna pay our bills? And we had to be fucking hungry, dude. We were hungry. We were hungry for growth. We were hungry to stay alive. And I feel like anybody that opens up a business, they have to really get out of their comfort zone. Like, I'm not a people person. I don't really talk to a lot of people, but for me, whenever we started our business, I had to talk to a lot of people. It's networking at the end of the day, right? But that's something that I had to kind of overcome. I was like, man, if I don't do this, how am I going to connect with people? How are people going to hear about me? How are they going to hear about our brand?
You have to be loud and bold. Yeah. I think at least that's what we did. How did you market yourself?
Really, it's just simple as just like saying, hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is
who
what
do you
we do.
market to? So how do you get in front of these people, I guess, is my question.
Like, you go to bars?
One thing that started that really helped was the Korean community. and that we did some marketing in the Korean Journal, and what was helpful was that a lot of the Korean lawyers were specifically just general practitioners, and I was like, no, look, I'm not doing all that. I just want only personal injury car wreck cases. And that's all we did. And I specifically marketed or tailored our marketing in that to specifically say we are just looking for personal injury cases. And the big thing that was the kicker, and this is what's funny about Korean people, we said you don't have to pay anything unless if we win. So then all these Korean people started contacting us, thinking like we do our work for free on all sorts of things. Like, well, no, not all that. We just do just car. They're okay. But the thing that I still remember to this day, none of the Korean lawyers were marketing that way, right? Yeah. A year later, they all changed their stuff to market in the same way. It's actually genius. So I was like, that's I guess a little sign of respect that, hey, what I was doing was
a little nod to you.
A little nod, but that, that's what I started doing that, and then got some cases from there, and then also meeting other lawyers, just go out there and tell people, tell your friends, tell your family, put it on social media, Facebook. I didn't do it as much as some of my other friends that are really aggressive on it. But I guess what I did even in the beginning, because I guess it was more early on, because I was doing this stuff back in 2013, 2012.
Yeah. That's when social media was pretty new.
Yeah, I was
door to door.
Like I was telling people like, oh, I'm dispersing this client, and like, or hey, I got this result on this case, or I'm at court this day, and I'm just talking about. I was just talking about what I'm doing,
right? And
that's where it's like. Bunch of people like I don't really know very well would be like, hey, can you help me on this, or can you talk about this, or do you do this kind of case and all that? And still to this day, people reach out that are like even like from high school that I haven't talked to in a while because social media.
They know what you do, yeah. So you feel like social media really helped you?
Social media definitely helped.
Is it more so social media as in like your personal account, or because I know you have a business account too?
I originally started just with my personal account, and I was just doing it as that, and then eventually I was like, okay, maybe I should do something more professional. So we split it where we got professional, especially because I was going to have others manage it to help me and not just be on me. So. But it initially just started out as my personal thing.
Do people reach out to your personal more or your business more?
I'd say it's like equal.
It's equal.
It's equal. Yeah, I'd say it's equal. You got the one thing is if whatever business you do, you've got to really own it as a lifestyle.
Oh, like, absolutely.
This is what you do.
That. Absolutely.
You can't. I tell people all the time, if you're a business owner, you've got to be your biggest fan.
Absolutely.
If you cannot be willing to advocate for yourself, who the heck is going to for you? You've got to be able to advocate for yourself. Now that doesn't mean sit there and be egotistical and think you're the greatest thing of sliced bread, like, because that can rub off on people. But just tell them, this is what I do. I've been doing this a lot, and these are the results that I get. These are the clients or whatever with y'all. Like, these are our patients and how the results that we get. And and I'd love to be able to help y'all if you've got those kinds of things, and just keep going as that,
So who manages your social media now?
Well, there's one of my paralegals, and then my wife also. She helps. Have
they been on top of it? Because I know we fall out a lot.
Dude, it's a whole other job in itself.
It's a lot.
It's a full-time job.
I try to be organic with the social media. Like, I know there are lawyers who really focus on content creation and really just pushing out the content creation. And I probably should be better. And I bet if I was more on it, I probably would get more cases and better cases. But it's like, you're trying to wear so many hats and trying to take care of so many things. And so again, my problem is not necessarily trying to get more cases. My problem is more trying to get good results. And I just focus on good results. And frankly, there are lawyers that you could walk on the street, nobody knows who the heck they are. Yeah. You say, hey, so-and-so, do you know him? No, I don't know him. So-and-so don't. But why is that lawyer always working on the best cases? Why? Because they're so good at what they do.
Work. Yeah.
And it's not that those clients came to them. it's because other lawyers are like, hey, so-and-so, I just signed this client that's a oil field death case. I'm going to go to the best of them because I don't know how to do it. But I don't want to lose out on this case, so I'm gonna go take it to somebody, and I want to take it to somebody that's gonna. I feel very confident it's gonna get me, go
all the way,
or not only all the way, but a great result, right? Like, I mean, if you've got a lawyer who has proven that they can get $100 million verdicts versus a lawyer who's never even gotten a $500,000 verdict on a case, you're probably going to go to the one that has gotten the $100 million verdict cases and figure that out. That's just the truth of it. Doing what we do is really hard in that we are really results driven. Yeah. We are really measured on our results. And it's almost to a point that a lot of times there are lawyers who take it to where the means justify the end, or the ends justify the means, if you know what I mean. But where they're willing to maybe cut some corners or do some unethical things because they want to get those big results, because we are so measured on our results. So it's challenging doing what we do because me as a lawyer, I've got to be able to compete with those whose results are great. And I wish I could say I've had $100 million verdicts in my time, but I haven't. And I'm okay with that because, that's tells me there's room for improvement. And that's what pushes me to keep improving. And that's why, again, I stay in this city. Because those lawyers that do get $100 million verdicts, I'm very blessed to say they're in this city, and I can shake hands with them and say, "Hey, what's up? Let's go to lunch. Let's talk about stuff."
Yeah, let's pick each other's brain. But I feel like for you as a lawyer too, especially in personal injury, it's not just getting the client the money; it's also about getting them better.
Sure.
And because you guys as lawyers are the ones that are like kind of pushing them, not really pushing them, but like helping them find providers and stuff like that. Obviously, if you guys find a provider that it's like terrible or whatever, that falls back on you too. It's just everything is a reflection on you. So like we always say that like we like personal injury because we work with a team, right? And we're all team players. Like, but obviously if I send someone, I don't know, to MRI, let's say, right, and they schedule them like 3 months in, I mean, that looks terrible on us too. And then also the lawyer, because like, who the hell did you send me to?
Right.
So I feel like you as a lawyer, even just not even a business owner, but a lawyer, wear so many hats and where the case, everything, you're the point of contact for them. It's like, oh, my chiropractor's terrible. Go back to you. Yeah. Oh, this MRI facility is terrible. Goes back to you. Like,
I need you to get this client in this week.
It's so funny because like some people be like, man, your attorney's fees are so high, y'all make so much money, but like we are, I feel like we're blamed for a lot of stuff that we don't really have control over. Like we'll have clients that like I've had a client where they were getting their car taken care of and they were going to the dealership to get it taken care of, and they call us and like, why am I waiting at the dealership? I'm like,
I don't know. What do you mean? I don't deal with your car. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Why? Like they're like, why didn't you have this ready to where I didn't have to wait and you just go through? I was like, do you think we control the dealership? Like, does it say Kwon dealership? I didn't. No, this says Mackay. It doesn't say Kwon. Like, why do you all like? And we get blamed for it.
Yeah.
Like, we absolutely get blamed for it.
It's like you're holding their hand, about everything. Because like when I used to teach first grade, it was very much like that, right? But then like I can excuse it, justify it. Dude, you're 6 years old. You've only been alive for 6 years. Sure. But when you're managing adults, like,
they're adults.
They're adults and you're literally having to hold their hand through everything. My Uber's late. I don't know why your Uber's late. Like, I'm not in charge of your Uber.
That's what gets tough is like, dude, we have to, there are so many things in the variables that are going on. Like you talked about, there's a lot of like, there's, chiropractors, MRIs, insurance companies, defense lawyers, like all these different
fair value on your car.
And then just all these different things, courts and all, there's so many things. And when something doesn't go exactly right, it's like,
it goes back on you.
I'm calling the law firm. Why is this not going right? I'm like,
ask the provider.
I didn't treat you. I don't know. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna stand by it because I'm a believer of going by. But some of the worst people about this are Koreans. They're absolutely the worst about it.
Asians.
I think honestly, like, not to be racist, but I think Asian people are just very horrible patients. And I'm one of them. Honestly, I'm a terrible patient. Like, you know, I don't like going to the doctors and stuff like that. So it's very much like, you know, you have to find my doctors for me and stuff, you know? So I think, you know, even like in like, you know, I know it sounds bad, but even in the profession now, a lot of the Asian people, they're just like very like iffy about doing things, you know? I'm like, but don't you want to get better?
Well, the one thing I run into, especially with Koreans, is everything needs to be exactly perfect. Yeah. Exactly like
black and white.
I shouldn't have to wait for anything. And basically the red carpet should be rolled out for me for everything. And I'm like, that's not how the real world works.
I've had patients walk in, they're like, let me get that. Can I get that CBD cream? Can I get this? I'm like, man, they want everything.
They want but they expect, it's the expectation.
Like, I was hurt. The insurance should cover all this. I was like,
like one thing, like they're talking about like with the courts, like they're like, why is this taking so long in the court? I'm like,
I don't work there. It's like, let me drive over there and figure it out.
Do you think I can tell the court, demand the court that we go to trial tomorrow? You think I have that kind of power? Like, no, I don't. They have their schedule. They got their judge. That's all that. You got. Or why is this law like this? I don't make the law, sir. I'm so sorry. They're like, I shouldn't have to wait at all. They should give me the money tomorrow. I'm like, I would love that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm with you too, but that's not happening. It's like, well, figure it out. I'm like, what do you think I'm trying to do?
Like, let me really quick. No, so I always think about that, you know, because like with patients, like when we see them, it's just, I mean, we deal with it in certain amount of times, right? But like, I feel like you guys are more so the point of contact for everything,
so
you know?
Get the blame the most.
So you're like, you got to play mom and dad. And then like, so, you know, obviously, do you do, what is that? Inventory on all the chiros and everybody you work with? Like, because I know some lawyers, before they even want to work with us, they want to see like,
so practice. You basically investigate of like, let me go check out their office, like send a secret shopper or something.
Or just like go check out their practice to make sure that, you know.
The big things that we do is we consult with others about the reputation of different providers. And we definitely like to do that ahead of time. And now I've done this long enough that I kind of know the reputation. And I kind of know, and you are right. And I've had clients go see a provider and they did a horrible job and they were not happy with us and all that. So we try to be careful in that way. So because it's important. Plus, at the end of the day, the one thing you hit on, getting them better is important.
It's so important.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Their body's been through drama.
Yeah, it's definitely
hit
important.
By a 4,000-pound vehicle.
Yeah, I don't. You know, some lawyers are just so focused on just getting the money. Like I tell my clients, I'm like, look, if you know, for case wise, like, just going to like therapy or a chiro and that's it. And that's all the treatment and you're 100% better. Yeah. Money wise, it's not great compared to something where it's like MRIs, injections, surgery, all that, right? Money wise, it's not the same, but like, if you're 100% better just from going to, I'm happy with that.
Again, it's the degree of injury. It's the degree of injury.
I'm happy with that. Like, I'm not going to ever
anything else.
Yeah, I'm going to be good with like if my clients like, I went to Cal and man, they did such a fantastic job and I feel 100% better. I'm like, great. I'm happy. Not every case has to be a multi-million-dollar case. No. And so. And I think that's a good reflection on us because then it's like, oh, we sent this person to a good provider that did a great job. Yeah. I love hearing that. So, you know, we just do what we can to separate ourselves and try to at least I don't worry about those things that I can't control and that I just try to worry about if within my circle of my sphere. That includes my friends and my family.
I strongly believe that too.
And if, you know, I say this all the time, as much as I'd love to solve all the world's problems, I can't. Mm-hmm. I'm not capable of solving all the world's problems. I wish I was, but I wasn't. I'm not. So I just try to focus on solving the problems within my sphere.
I like that, man.
And do that. And to me, if more of us would focus on just solving our problems within our sphere of family and friends and all that, then this world would probably be a much better place than what it is, frankly.
I know Chris sleeps well at night.
It's been an hour. So we're going to go ahead and close it. We could talk forever just because we're like really good friends. But Chris, if there was one thing
message of the day.
Do you have like a closing thing? Ooh, I like it. Okay.
I'm trying. We're trying it out.
Okay. All right. But tell me your closing thing. Here we go.
So if there was one thing that you wanted to, I guess, leave to the world or your message for the world, what would it be?
Being talented and all that is not the end all be all. To me, the ones that really succeed in this world are the ones who are willing to keep pushing forward, even when everything is going terribly wrong, that you keep pushing forward and not quitting to almost the level of insanity. Those are the ones that succeed, and they're not generally the most smart, the best looking, the tallest. Frankly, I believe that I'm mediocre and average in a lot of ways, and but what's gotten me here today is just a continuous pushing forward. Even when everything like that, you see that meme where like the dog and the fire all around you. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. That's how it is. And so anyone who thinks that I'm not talented enough, I'm not smart enough, I think it's absolute BS. If you want it and you're willing to work at it and keep chopping at it like you're chopping an axe on a tree, you can do it. Anybody, even doing what I do as a lawyer, I don't think I'm that talented, and I think I've only gotten here because I just keep at it. And so
it's a hard working hustle.
So to anyone who thinks that they're not talented enough and that they cannot get to where they want to get to, it's BS. You're giving yourself an excuse instead of doing the hard work of trying to just improve and be better and keep at it that way.
Awesome.
Man,
well,
I like that message.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know
Let's
what else
wrap
to
it
say.
up.
How do we
Bye.
close it? But you don't say like a bye like a
No,
this was this show
That
like
was it.
Hey, follow Kwon Law, guys. Follow Kwon Law.
Kwon Cares.
Yeah.
Shout out
Kwon
my
Cares.
at Kwon Cares.
Yeah.
Follow
At
my
Kwon Cares.
If you
Kwon
guys
Cares.
are looking for a personal injury attorney,
Kwon
Chris
Cares
Kwon is here to fight for you.
or at Kwon Law PLLC, one or the other.
Do you only do Texas or do you do other states?
We
too?
can do other states too.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
That's it.
Hey.
All right.